Hello, I'm Lee Willoughby. I'm here for Harvest Center in Woodland Park, Colorado, and this morning we're going to build a planter box. This is made of cedar, ordinary wood that you would get at a lumber supply. It's actually called dog ear fencing. Notice the dog ears. Well, what do we need? I'll tell you more details about the lumber to buy, but let's look at the tools for now. Square, so you can make a nice even mark. I'm going to use a hand saw. If you got an electric saw, of course, use it. And I need a drill. This electric drill I'll use for actually doing the screwing in, as well as some drilling out of holes. And just in case I need Phillips head screwdriver, of course I do need a box of deck screws, probably about 16 or 20 actually, but they come in a box. And these are 1 1/4 inch long, they're number 6. What else? Well, of course, you need a cap, especially if you're going into a hardware store. You gotta wear a cap, you know. I need a pencil. I'll be back in just a bit with a pencil and some lumber. Okay, I'm back with pencil. Forgot a while ago, we need a tape measure, of course. And this is what you're looking for at the lumber yard. Well, you know, your Ace, Home Depot, Best, etc. Lowe's, that's another one I was trying to think of. This is very common. It's 6 feet long, called a 1x6 cedar fencing material, and it's what, maybe $3 at the most. You need 2 of these. Okay. We've got our tools and our lumber ready. The deck screws, screwdriver, cup of coffee, of course, pencil, square, handsaw, electric drill that we'll also use for the screwdriver. Well, let's start cutting the wood. Well, I guess we ought to measure it first. So the first mark I'm going to make on the board is at 32 inches. That's going to be the length of the bottom and sideboards. If you want to make different lengths, go to our website, wpharvestcenter.org, and look for our tip sheet on building a planter box, and you'll find a little table here where you can determine the length of boards for a small, medium, that's what we're building, a 32 inch, and a long planter box. Well, next we're going to cut the end pieces. Remember, those are going to be 8 inches. If you refer to the tip sheet, you'll see that the 8 inch is recommended for the small and the medium box, and 10 inches for the large box. Actually, truth be told, you can make this end piece longer, up to 10 inches, and it'll work just fine. But that's the point. We're going to cut off this dog ear end of it in order to make our end pieces. Alright, I'm about to saw that 8 inch end piece, and it is important to keep it at 8 inches for the 32 inch box, because if you think about it, 6 feet long is the length of our lumber. That's 72 inches. We're going to cut one 8 inch end piece. That leaves 64. So divide that by 2 and you've got 32. So out of this one board we're going to get 2 sideboards and the end piece. Okay, we've got our materials cut. We've got our 3 pieces that will be the bottom, and two sides. We've got our two end pieces. Let me show you another detail in this existing box, and the screws are going to be applied through the end, and we'll have two that connect to the bottom and then two that connect to the sides. Then on the bottom we want to drill some holes for these screws. I call this pre-drilling, and what we're going to need to do in order to facilitate putting the screws in and help prevent splitting of the wood, let's pre-drill. Use a drill bit that's about the diameter of the screw, and we go through drilling so that this will approximately hit the middle of the bottom board and the sideboards. I like beginning with the end piece, and notice I've placed a spacer board under here so that it elevates the bottom board above the surface of this deck rail. Now I've pre-drilled with a bit that is about the diameter of the screw. I've done that through here. Now what I want to do is pre-drill with a bit that's a good bit less than the diameter of the screw. It's going to provide a smooth path so that it doesn't split the board. So I'm going to do that and be back in a moment. Well, if you're up to it, use an old-fashioned hand screwdriver for this, because even though you have a drill that you can use to screw these screws in, you're going to be less likely to split this thin lumber if you use this by hand. Well, I've put together the two end pieces with the sideboard. Now we can take out the spacer, which is actually the final sideboard. So let's screw that in and we're going to be done. Well, great. We've got the box put together. No split ends so far. That pre-drilling really helps in using the hand screwdriver. Now, flipped on its side, we're ready to insert the 6 screws that go into the bottom. Well, here we are. We've got our box finished, and you know, it looks just fine right there on the deck rail. On the other hand, maybe you're afraid of it tipping over, or just for other reasons you might want to stack them. So here's a frame. Oh, kind of a bookshelf, only in this case it's planter box shelf. So join me for our next project brought to you by the Harvest Center, and we'll build ourselves one of these